back. We're going to be doing quadratic formula day 2, so a quick reminder of where we left off. We're trying to factor and solve quadratics. So quadratic being any equation that looks like some number ax squared plus bx plus c, and remember it has to be equal to 0. So if the problem is initially not equal to 0, make sure that you start there. The second part to this is going to be that we've been using the quadratic formula, and the quadratic formula was x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, so we've been going through some different things, and last time we saw problems where we didn't necessarily have to simplify, simplest radical form, but today we're going to look at that. So your assignment will look like this, and so let's take a look at the first problem. M squared plus 4m minus 9 equals 0. Okay, so m squared minus 4m minus 9 equals 0. Okay, so this will be our first example today. All right, so we're looking to use the quadratic formula, so let's identify our letters. So A is going to be equal to 1, B is going to be equal to negative 4, and C is going to be equal to negative 9. All right, so with that being said, I can plug into my formula. X equals negative 4, so that'll be a positive 4, plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared. Make sure you put that negative 4 in parentheses. Remember, negative 4 squared does not equal negative 4 squared. If you don't put it in parentheses, the calculator will give you 16, which is the correct answer, but the other side will give you negative 16. Now, remember from class, we've had this discussion before. Getting back, we'll have minus 4 times 1 times negative 9 all over 2 times 1. Okay, so you hopefully remember that what we want to do here with our calculator is just plug in the part that's under the radical. So we plug it in exactly as we see it. So negative 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 9. And we get 52 under the radical. Okay, so we get x equals 4 plus or minus radical 52 over 2. Now, we want to see if 52 can be simplified. So we're going to go back to our list, and we're going to be dividing perfect squares. Okay, so we're going to start with 52, and we're going to start with 52 divided by 49, because 49 is the largest perfect square that is less than 52. And we get a decimal, so it doesn't work. So then we'll do 52 divided by 36. That doesn't work. 52 divided by 25. That does not work. 52 divided by 16. That does not work. 52 divided by 9. That does not work. 52 divided by 4. That works. So we're going to be using 4 and 13. So this will become x equals 4 plus or minus radical 4 radical 13 over 2. So we split the radical 52 up into a radical 4 and a radical 13. Now, you've seen this before, right? This was a few assignments back. So now we're going to simplify one step further. So we get 4 plus or minus 2 radical 13 over 2. You'll notice we turn this radical 4 into a 2. And the final step here, and this is the part you have to do it to all three things. You can't just pick one or two. We're going to look at this number, the number in front of the radical, and the number on the bottom. And we're trying to see if there's a greatest common factor that we can pull out. And there is here. 4, 2, and 2 have a GCF of 2. And so we're going to divide everything by 2. Okay, so we're going to divide each of those three numbers by 2. That'll become a 2. That'll become a 1, and that'll become a 1. So we get x equals 2 plus or minus radical 13. I'm not putting the 1 out in front. I don't have to. And the same thing, I don't have to put that 1 on the bottom. If it was any other number, I would, but since it's 1, I don't have to. So if we go back to our Delta Math assignment, we can plug this in as our answer. So 2 plus or minus radical 13. We're going to submit our answer. Oh, something went wrong. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Nope, there's our issue. Plus 4 minus 9. Okay, plus 4 minus 9. We used minus 4, so there's our first issue there. Okay, so that obviously changes some things. And so what does that change? Well, this will become a positive 4. Not going to matter too much. This will become a negative 4. And so this will become a negative 2. So let's try negative 2 plus or minus radical 13. And again, these are the kind of things that you want to look for. Okay, so we're going to try again. All right, we'll go. And there they have the answer for us. Okay, yours will actually give you another shot. All right, let's do one more. So negative 3w squared minus 10w. Okay, plus 1. Negative 4w squared. Okay, so when we're going to solve this problem here, it's not set equal to 0. So that's the very first thing that we need to do. Okay, so this is example number 2. So we're going to add 4w squared over. And we're going to get w squared minus 10w plus 1 equals 0. Now that it's set equal to 0, we can see that a is 1, b is negative 10, and c is also 1. We're going to be using our quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right. So from there, okay, we're going to be plugging in a, b, and c. So we're going to get x equals 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 all over 2 times 1. Okay, now if you remember, we plug what's under the radical into the calculator first. So negative 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1. It's 96. So x equals 10 plus or minus the square root of 96 all over 2. Now remember, for these simpler problems, where these ones we have to put in simplest radical form, okay, we're looking at simplifying the radical 96. So in order to simplify the radical 96, okay, what we need to do is the following. So we're going to simplify the radical 96, and what happens is we're going to start with 96 divided by, well, divided by what? Well, if you think about perfect squares, 100 is pretty close to 96, but it's bigger. So we need the perfect square less than 100, and that's 81. That doesn't work. Okay, so after 81 would be 8 squared, which is 64. That doesn't work. Okay, so after 64, we're going to get 49. That doesn't work. After 49, we're going to get 36. That doesn't work. After 36, we're going to get 25. That doesn't work. After that, we're going to get 16, and that works. So we're going to be using 16 and 6. Again, how to simplify these square roots, go back to some of our previous videos. You'll see how to do that. So we get x equals 10 plus or minus radical 16, radical 6 over 2, and we take this radical 16 here, and that becomes 10 plus or minus 4 radical 6 over 2. It's always the perfect square that you're simplifying, and it'll no longer be under the radical. The other part is going to stay just as it is. All right, so then what comes next is we want to, again, this is where we have to look at the three numbers. So we're looking at the 10, the 4, and the 2, and is there GCF? There is. 2 is the greatest common factor. So we'll take a 2 out of the 10, it'll become a 5. We'll take a 2 out of the 4, it'll become a 2. And we'll take a 2 out of the 2, and it'll become a 1. And that leaves us with x equals 5 plus or minus 2 radical 6. Okay? And that bottom, again, I don't have to put a 1 because that's it. So 5 plus or minus 2 radical 6. Let's give that a try. So 5, hit the plus or minus button, 2 radical 6. We're going to submit that as our answer. You can see the remnants of the green check mark. Okay, and we're good to go. So your next assignment for the rest of the week is going to be to complete some problems using this method here. So again, use the quadratic formula. It's not something you have to memorize ever. Okay, we're providing it to you. You have it here. It's just, can you use it now to solve these kind of problems? So, again, if you have any questions, reach out to us, contact us. We'll be happy to help you in any way that we can. And other than that, have a good rest of your week.